welcome to everybody joining us in today's Zoom session. My name is Matipa Sibitsiwa, and I am the Planetarium Manager at the Iziko Museums of South Africa. You're joining us today because we are celebrating National Science Week. The South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, in short SARAO, has put together this webinar series for this week in celebration of National Science Week. I will let the coordinator of this series to just briefly introduce the series in a short while. But before we get to that, a few logistics. And before we get to introducing our speaker for the day, so just a few logistics. This will be an interactive webinar, so you are more than welcome to send through any questions or comments you have with regards to the topic of the day, or any questions directly addressed to either the speaker or the coordinator. You can do so in our chat box. And we will have Olwetu Fagu, who is our technical assistant, to just assist us with regards to articulating some of your questions and comments towards the speaker or the coordinator. So with that out of the way, I'd like to introduce Mr. Simpiwe Madlanga to tell us a little bit of what they do at the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. Welcome, Simpiwe.
Good morning, everyone. Afternoon, pardon me.
Hi, Simpiwe.
We've been busy since this morning. Thank you very much, Matipa. My name is Simpiwe Madlanga, and I'm the current Science Engagement Coordinator at the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. And indeed, we have this series this week because of the National Science Week. And let me give a bit of a background. So the National Science Week is an initiative of the Department of Science and Innovation, started many years ago, where annually there is a celebration of science nationally. And it is to drive an appreciation by different audiences, society at large, basically understanding what the government is doing in terms of science, technology, and innovations, and understanding where some of the resources go to and what is hoped to be achieved by our government in the long term. You'll hear nowadays talk of the knowledge economy, and that talks to the use of technology as it comes about when research is being done, and using all of those spin-offs for the benefit of society. So I come from SARAO. SARAO is a business unit of the National Research Foundation. And the National Research Foundation, which is NRF, is a statutory body that manages national facilities across the country. Many people might know the NRF in terms of the funding that they give for university students. And then above us all is the Department of Science and Innovation. And it is the governing entity in the country, the custodian for science and technology and innovation broadly. And so this week, in celebration of the National Science Week, we are having speakers talk about certain topics, but how SARAO is playing a role in society, and explaining what it is that we do as a research facility, and raising the awareness around radio astronomy and all the wonderful work that we do locally in South Africa through MEERKAT, the South African contribution toward the greater SKA project. I think let me leave it there for now, and then I might comment a bit later on once the program moves forward in earnest. Thank you, Matipa.
Thank you, Simpiwe, for that introduction. And as mentioned by Simpiwe, the talks series that has been happening this week is really focused on the work that SARAO does. So for today's talk, our speaker is Ms. Tankiso Moso. And the focus of the talk will be on various roles and opportunities at SARAO. So it's a talk on career development and how exactly one can move through the entity or the organization. And Ms. Tankiso Moso, who happens to be a former colleague of mine as well, started out at the Hartebeeshoek Radio Astronomy Observatory a few years back, and that was my introduction to her. And at the time, she was doing her in-service, I believe. And it's a pleasure for me to welcome her today because I know her personally, but also it's been a pleasure to watch her career development and growth within the SARAO space. So just to give a little bit of context, maybe to some people that are not aware, the Hartebeeshoek Radio Astronomy Observatory, together with the South African Square Kilometer Array, are now the two separate entities that have joined together to form SARAO. So Tankiso has literally been at a radio observatory or part of the organization for most of her career, and she'll just tell you a bit about her career. So let me just introduce her and read a little bit of her bio and then hand it over to her to give us a personal introduction to her journey. So her bio grew up in KwaZulu-Natal on the South Coast, and she completed a national diploma in electrical engineering, focusing on light current. And she has a BTech in electrical engineering, also focusing on light current from the Durban University of Technology. Her career interest or her area of interest is astrophysics, and she is currently working on the probing radio intensity at high Z from Marion. Now I'll hand it over to Tankiso to just share with us a little bit about what she does and her career journey within the organization. Welcome, Ms. Tankiso Moso.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Matipa. Quite a beautiful introduction. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I think it might be a bit biased as well because I know you personally. For me, this is a journey that I'm keen to listen to as well.
Yeah. I'll just go on and share my slides then. As I've been introduced, I'm Tankiso Moso from KZN, and I'll be presenting the ability to change career paths and a need to be adaptable, personal journey. So it's all about me. Let's see. Academic background and upbringing, some of which Matipa already covered. I was born and bred in KZN, South Coast, Mtswalume. Attended the local schools from preschool to high school. And then the qualifications, she already mentioned that I have a national diploma, a BTech from the Durban University of Technology, BSc honors in physics from UKZN, MSc in applied maths from UKZN. Yeah. The near future, yeah, we'll see how the PhD looks like. Going forward, I think I just froze there. Oh, great. So this is how it started. I joined SARAO for the in-service training under the SARAO funding. It was called SKA then. So SARAO was a first stepping stone in my career, and it was my first exposure to the work environment, and it treated me very, very good. And I still acknowledge and do keep people in the loop that I met at SARAO, because that was my first encounter. So after my in-service training, obviously I got my national diploma. There's me and my mom and dad. After my graduation, then from then, I was just in the family of NRF, you know. I was further offered a scholarship to continue my BTech, and I specialized in RF and microwave engineering, also funded by SARAO. Then my career grew even further. I moved on to UKZN, and that was a huge transition for me, because moving from a University of Technology, the standard of education is not the same as in the university. In the university, it's on another level. What can I say? So I think now they're trying to kind of meet halfway, but then the gap was too much between the University of Technology and a traditional university. So I bridged the gap between science and engineering. It was not pub and place. It was really hard, because I think in my whole life, that was the hardest time in my career. So in all this, you just need to always persevere and always focus on the goal rather than the journey, because once you focus on the journey, you'll get tired and just fall over or something like that. So always focus on the goal, because the journey will always have its ups and downs. So I have a few keywords: bridging the gap between science. It was a lot of tears during the transition, hardship. Yes, it was a success, a very big success. And I was the second person to do the bridging between engineering and science. One guy who was before me, who did the same transition, is currently doing his PhD at UKZN, and I followed him. I was like, okay, let's do this. And astrophysics is what I specialized on, and this was my career highlight. As hard as it was, I was able to adapt, and yeah, it was fruitful and helpful, and yeah. Record-breaking sleepless nights, that is the most important one for any qualification, but this was record-breaking for real. So on my research project for my honors, I worked on prototyping a solar power system for our project in Marion Island. So I'll briefly go through the Marion Island, because most people usually ask, what is Marion Island? Actually, some people don't even know there exist islands that are owned by South Africa, like further. So a leap of faith continued with UKZN, did my first year master's after completion of my BSc honors, first the MSc, first international travel, recognition. I was one of the South African Women in Science Award winner, another career highlight. There was a lot of recognition after the transition that I went through. First, Marion Island voyage. So a glimpse of Marion Island where all the UKZN projects are. So BSc honors, I was prototyping for the deployment, and for my master's, I was actually deploying. Glimpse of Marion Island, it's operated by SANAP, South African National Antarctic Program. It's 2,000 kilometers approximately from the nearest continental landmass. And some people go there to overwinter, some people go there for the takeover period. So the takeover period is only 3 weeks, and the overwintering is for 13 months. So you get to stay there for 13 months with no option of coming back, should you take that option. So some of the challenges on Marion Island is that we can only access it once per year. So that means that there should be proper planning and development well in advance, so that we won't be facing difficulties and challenges that we would have planned for earlier. Roaring 40s, the weather is ridiculous. Mayas and lava rocks, yeah, and mice. You'll see more of this as I go on with my slides. So how do we get to Marion Island, SA Agalas? And it's operated by Department of Forestry, Fishery and Environment. That's what it has changed to now. But then it was just the Department of Environmental Affairs. SA Agalas 2, it departs from Cape Town, obviously, and goes to Marion Island. It takes about 4 days sailing. Then there's no port in Marion Island. It's just an island. So what happens is when we get there, we get off. Okay, I'll play this now. Let's just fast forward. From the ship, fly to the island, and yeah, it's all an experience. Okay. So before I continue further, are there any questions? And okay, nothing on the chat, so it's good so far.
Sorry, thank you. Let me interject. So I think the sound was playing a little bit over your talking as well. So I last heard you say there isn't a port in Marion Island. So I'm curious to find out how do you actually, you guys jump off the ship onto the island?
Yeah, we swim.
I'm interested to find out.
So when the ship goes from Cape Town, it has 2 helicopters inside. So those helicopters are used to transport the passengers from the ship to and fro to the island and from the island. So that's how we, and then it's even the containers, the helicopters fly the containers, it's fly all the food, all the, like everything that is necessary, and all the year supply, because there are people who are going to stay 13 months there. So it's, even for a person going there for 13 months, they need to be well equipped and have all the gadgets, all the needs, all your essentials for the whole year, because there's no option and there's no other trip other than that one access per year. That's the most difficult part, but yeah, people do it. It's good money if one of you on this talk is interested. It's very good money for the 13 months.
You want to get a little bit into the good money. What do you mean by good money? Hey, you can't just drop hints about money and not explain.
So
I'd be interested.
So look at it this way. There's a lot of options, and there's a lot of options in terms of what you can go there as in what you are hired as. So the good money comes in when you don't spend at all, because there's no shop, there's no, literally nothing. If you drink a lot of alcohol, you need to take your alcohol for the whole year. So the whole 13 months, you are paid, and only tax is chowing your money if you don't have much of responsibilities, if I might put it like that. So for example, for someone who's single and has just have the family, a mom and dad, or siblings, or nieces, or whatever. So for that person, they won't be spending as much, because they won't have to share their household responsibilities as they would if they were here, and they won't be paying rent, So it has its advantages and probably its disadvantages, but yeah, you don't need to have a faint heart if you go there.
I get it. It's a bit of a good savings account.
Yeah. So you need to be strong, very strong. What does UKZN do in Marion Island? Or what did it do? Okay, maybe what did I work on? So we have 2 experiments, Prism and Albatross. Prism was the very first experiment that was actually the very first radio astronomical experiment that was deployed in Marion Island. It's made international news because it was, if I may say, people were wondering, what is this Marion Island? They were just wondering a lot about where does this island suddenly come from, kind of thing, So it really did good. And then from there, it continued to Albatross, which was, okay, it's actually available on this. I think the slides will be shared. So you can just go and read what we do there, because I don't want to go too much into detail, but to pass on it, the aim of the project, the end goal of the project is to see when the first light from the stars came, and actually discover, because so far none of the experiments that have tried to have actually done it successfully. So it's all just groundwork that is and the foundation to see that, okay, can we do this? How is the Marion sky? What can we do in Marion? What can we observe in Marion? You know, so for now, we just laying groundwork and seeing what are the possibilities before we can actually do the main research. So RFI Mars, so this is the McGill Arctic Research Station, which is in Canada. So McGill University is one of the collaborating universities in the project. Main contributions, I did mention that for my BSc honors, I designed a prototype solar panel, and it was actually implemented in 2019. I was part of both the voyages, 2019 and 2021. But the 2020 couldn't happen because, you know, yeah, COVID. So maintenance, upgrade, installation, and characterization of antennas that are existing. If anyone is interested, my MSc thesis is available on GitHub. Continuing on Marion Island, so I mentioned earlier the challenges. So yeah, if you walk and you're not cautious where you step, yeah, you'll get like me here, because yeah, this was my first trip, and like I was warned, but not entirely warned that something like this can happen. So this happened, I got mired. So some people actually go halfway, I mean, all the way. It just depends how deep and how mushy the sand is, or the place you are stepping in. Then Roaring Forties, it has destroyed some of our stuff, but we put it back together and we tighten it. And yeah, you really need to have skills of not tying, and the general marine stuff that some people wouldn't need in general life, you know, because the island is really challenging, all the hiking, because there are no roads there. You can't just take a car or a bike. And so you walk like 4 kilometers. Some people do ridiculous stuff, 15 kilometers. Like yeah, some people are really strong. So it's that's why I said it's not for faint-hearted. But I've only done like 4 kilometers going, 4 kilometers coming back. So 8, 10 a day, depending. Then second year masters. Okay, submitted. This is writing. Yeah, everyone knows it's a pain. And if you are writing, okay, are roaring 40s the wind speeds or storms or something else? Okay. So roaring 40s are wind speeds. They are extremely high, and I think it can go to 120 kilometers per hour, but they usually just say it's like 20 knots or 40 knots. They don't usually use the kilometer per hour unit. COVID-19 happened, and this was before the 2020 deployment, before we knew that we were not going to go. So, and the university, actually everywhere, it was going to be locked down and everything was closing. So we took all our stuff. Luckily, my landlord had a free kind of apartment or basement. Yeah. So we rented that space, and I just had a lab downstairs, and I would just wake up and go downstairs to the lab. Like usually that I would just wake up and go to campus and do some work. So yeah, that was before because the numbers were cut in 2020. The voyage did happen, but the numbers were cut and it didn't go. Yeah, I'm a registered EXA candidate engineering technologist. And it's an interesting thesis if you would like to read. Currently, the journey with SARAO, it's still continuing actually with NRF, because I've been to HATRAO, to SARAO. Yeah, I joined SARAO this year, a graduate program under the RFI team, managed by Karel van der Merwe. It's a great team. So what we do here, we do RFI test. Okay, what is RFI? If someone doesn't know, RFI are emissions from any device or equipment that can affect the science that is done by meerkat or HERA or any of the SKA projects. So I'll make a simple example. If you are taking a camera to site, it needs to pass here and we need to test it, take it to the reverberation chamber and measure the amount of RFI it emits, and then give you a permit according to how much RFI it emits. So it will, from those results, we then say, okay, you are only allowed this far from the nearest telescope, or you are only allowed this far from the meerkat or from HERA, or, you know. So that's what we do. Power tools, cameras, anything, laptops, anything and everything. So that's essentially what we do. And then we write reports, issue permits according to the results that we get from the reverberation chamber test. Yeah, that's mostly it. And then yeah, if anyone doesn't know about SARAO here, then SARAO website is here, and I hope the slides will be shared. That is it on my side. Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was a very interesting presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your journey within the organization and your career path as well with us. There was a question which you addressed in your presentation from Brenda. Brenda, thank you for your question. Brendan, sorry, yes, Brendan. Yep. So Brendan, thank you for your question. It was addressed in the talk. Thanks for that, thank you. So if there are any other questions with regards to the presentation, please do. question, comments, please do share them in the chat box.
What kept me going? So the goal. So what I usually just tell myself is that in order for you to live your best life, you need to embrace your challenges, whatever you go through, you need to embrace it, stay with it, be uncomfortable with it before, so that you'll know when you are comfortable that, hey, this is I know the uncomfortable part of this. So now that I'm comfortable and I'm living comfortably, it's because I went through the uncomfortable part and I actually embraced it and made it me, because it was me at that time. So that's what kept me going, the goal that I wanted to just do stuff that not normal people do. Like, I mean, I didn't just want to study and that's it. As I would see, there's many adventures that I've embarked on.
Thank you. So very true. And indeed, you have done things that nobody else has done. There's another question from Apiwe. So a question says, what did your support system look like during the transition? And are there any people that you can highlight that played a significant role during that transition?
How did your support system look like during the transition? Any people that you can highlight? Okay. So the support system, so my supervisor, Prof. Cynthia Cheng, currently in Canada, McGill University. I met her way before. I met her while I was still doing my BTech, and I did mention that I followed into the steps of a colleague that first took the same. So he introduced me to Cynthia, and then we started talking from there. I think 2 years before I could even come to UKZN or fully decide that I was taking this path. So she gave me the books, the sites that so that I'll prepare myself for the journey, you know, because she knew the background, you know, because I was her second student that was taking the same journey, and she witnessed it from this guy, and then equipped me early so that I was going to do better, you know. So yeah, my supervisor, my colleagues that I worked with in at UKZN, and my BTech supervisor, Mr. Stuart McPherson, Austin Kumba, Cabello, Scott. Oh, there's a lot of them. Liju, Prof. Jonathan Sivas. There's a lot of them. But all in all, the support system was, I think it was quite firm, though this is the most important thing that was kind of sometimes pulling me down, that I was the only one who was transitioning in class, and there was 9 of us. So I had to work 5 times harder than any other student in the class, because I had to meet their standards, because they talked a language that I didn't understand, because they had the background. Yeah, I would go on, but yeah, I'll stop there. Then when the world went into lockdown, how did you deal with working from home, being trapped in the same room, missing the university life? So I did mention a bit that we moved the lab to downstairs where I was staying. Luckily, my landlord then had a free space, so we rented that space. So, it was difficult. I would just, because I know that work is just downstairs, I'll just sleep. There's no motivation actually if you're working from home, if I may put it like that. You just wake up and you say, okay, today I'm doing this. This doesn't happen really until last minute, and then you're like, and then you do everything fast, you know. So it was difficult because for me, staying at home and working and the bed is here, it doesn't work for me. So it was really difficult. Why is the island only accessed? I'm sorry, I need to let the facilitator do this, but anyway, I can also see the question.
No, and
so
I was late. Okay, no problem. Thank you. So, and I thought you were a bit comfortable with doing that, as I saw. But we do have two other questions. So the first one is from. So we've got two other questions. The first one's from Siphelele, who says, "Why is the island only accessed once a year? Is it weather related? Can you shed a bit of light on that?"
Okay, so the ship services to other places, as in there's a schedule. So in April, it goes to Marion Island. Probably this month or next month, it's going to another island, or island. And then in December, it's going to Antarctica. So that's why when it comes back, it needs to also be serviced. They need to do all the stocking for the next island. So that's why it's only accessed once a year.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. So there's another question here, which I do think looks like our last question before we wrap up. Listen, I think people are really interested to find out a lot about what you do, most especially about your work that you've done on Marion Island. It really is a very unique journey that you've taken, and we can see from the questions that people are really taken by your journey and all the wonderful work that you've done. Let me just ask you the last question, or there's two actually, just two last questions, and then we can quickly wrap up if there aren't any other questions, because we do have to close soon. So the first question is from, I hope I'm saying this right, Kabo Mabusha, who's asking, what is your advice to someone who wants to go to Marion Island? And then the second question, which I think maybe you could try and address both together, would be, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old Tankiso, looking back at your journey? And this is from Apiwe.
Okay, so I'll start with the 18-year-old because that's most important, you know, the teenagers are the future. So the advice that I would give an 18-year-old is never to underestimate your goals, and to never think that there's only one path to get to your goal. As I have done, I did engineering, and then I did science, and then back to engineering, you know. So there's never one way. If you want to be a lawyer, do a short course in something, or, you know, that would be my advice. Don't think that there's only one way to get to your goal. Then advice to someone who wants to go to Marion Island. This is an interesting one. Don't be faint-hearted. People do sometimes test you. So you don't always get to stay with, if this person is asking in a perspective of going for a year. Going for 3 weeks is not much of a big deal because there's a lot of people to interact with, but going for a year, it's where you are left with only, before it was 25 people, but now it's reduced to like something like 10, 12 or something like that. So you need to be strong in all aspects of life, of life, psychologically, mentally. You need to be strong. You really need to, because I'll make one example. If, God forbid, someone passes in your family, you can't go to their funeral. And that has hurt a lot of people. And it's the truth, and you need to. That's what I mean if I say be strong. People have lost their parents, their siblings, maybe 2 a year in their stay, this 30-month stay. 2, 3 people, family die. But anyways, let me not go too deep. But yeah, you need to be strong.
No, thank you for that. Thank you. So I guess the harsh human reality is also about having to be on an island, and hence I guess the saying that says no man is an island. In as much as you guys do a lot of wonderful work on the island, the human aspect of really being so isolated away from society can really impact a lot of people, mental health wise and socially. So that is recognized as well. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so we have one last question and then we're closing it, and I'm going to hand it over to Simpiwe as the coordinator to wrap it up. We are very sorry to all of those people that might still have questions to ask. Unfortunately, we do have a limited time on the platform, and really being able to give you input. Thank you so story today. So our last question before I hand it over to Simpiwe to just add some final comments and wrap it up comes from Eliab, and Eliab is asking, besides radio astronomy, what other work or activities or research is taking place?
So I'll be quick in this one. There's a lot. So I'll start with the work. The work is a medic. A medic, I think we know what a medic is. Someone who's like a doctor. We have SARAO. SARAO is South African Weather Services. They are doing meteorological research. They deploy balloons to the sky, and it does all the magic. Then there are people who are researching mammals, whales, penguins, seals, elephant seals. There are people who are researching, who are doing what is the study of plants and all that thing. But yeah, that study, I can't remember the name. Then there are people who do birds. There's a lot of different birds, albatrosses and all the other birds that they, Then there's a lot. There is a comms engineer, a base engineer. Those people, some of them, they would have the ends from the college. Yes. Artisans, yes, that's what they call them. Then you'll have, there's a lot. Then SANSA is also there doing their research. SANSA is what? South African, I forgot what SANSA is, but yeah.
Let me help you out. The National
Space
Agency. South African National Space Agency. Yeah. No, it happens. Too many acronyms in the science field. Abbreviations, everything, just too much.
Thank you, Gabo. Thank you, Apiwe. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Simpiwe, for inviting me to give this talk. or share my experiences, life experiences.
Thank you, Tankiso, once again. Truly, it has been a very insightful conversation that we've had with you. For further questions, Olwe Tufaku, who's our tech assistant, has noted in the comment section that you can email Ms. Tankiso Moso. Thank you also, Tankiso, for making your email available to everybody who still might have more questions. So you can just take down her email from the chat room. And yeah.
Yeah, Timoso, it's
so that
SARAO.ac.za.
is about it from today. And I would like to hand it over to, to hand over back to Simpiwe Madlanga.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. It's been a very insightful presentation, and I hope people can draw a lot. The few things that I personally would like to sort of mention that I really picked up, that you were basically expressing the importance of role models, the people that you followed after because they were doing a certain thing, that even leading to relationships that you've had, getting to know about a certain professor or a certain lecturer or a certain professional, and getting that proximity to them to understand what it is they do, and then see yourself perhaps charting a path. And I think it was very fortuitous, and it something in your career path. You did mention that a person must not think there's just one way to reach your goal, which is being gainfully employed, of course, when we talk generally, but follow your passion and doing something that you feel resonates with you, your skills, your passions. And you've come to astrophysics, and now you're merging the two worlds. And I think that's very important to highlight, that with you transitioning, you ended up finding yourself at a pioneering point where you not only just got the qualification and got employed as any normal person would have that journey, but in your case, you ended up being part of projects that were being pioneered and started around the time that you made the transition, as though you were meant to make the transition yourself and be an active contributor. And I mean all the accolades and the recognition, even from the then Department of Science and Technology, now being DSI, all of these things talk to the impact that you are making. And whether you are as young as you are, if we talk age, and whether you are a person who has not been in the fraternity long, but impact, the quality is something that speaks volumes. And I think it's something that needs to be appreciated by our audiences and us generally, that you always are able to give your own unique footprint. You always have your unique way of doing things as a person, and you might be right at the cutting edge of different ways of doing, like you were saying, laying off the groundwork. Other people will study the same, perhaps charted different paths, but there are things that you've helped lay down that would possibly help them to be able to springboard even further. So I appreciate that authentic story of yours, and indeed the examples you have given, and all of the different things that you speak of, even for Marian Island and the different types of careers. At least even if a person hears about it for the first time, they'll take the opportunity to go and learn more about it. And just as the email has been shared for people to contact you, I would encourage that they look at all the social media platforms. Also Google you, because there are videos, there are news articles, because institutions worked with are proud to associate with you, whether it's the tertiary institutions or any other professional platforms. So I felt, no, we need to bring those things together and highlight them. They are important. We are in this particular month in South Africa. It's important to highlight these things. We happen to also have this series, and we wanted it to be stories and people telling those stories that majority of people might be able to relate. It's not elderly people alone, such that people feel it can only be attained once you have that much experience. As early as you possibly can, commit to something and contribute your best self, great things will happen. So that is all from me. And indeed, time is no longer on our side. And so, Matipa, perhaps you might just make any other remark, and then before we get cut off, it would be prudent for us to end it purposefully ourselves. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for that, Simpiwe. I really do share the same sentiments that you have with regards to the talk we had and Tankiso's experience. Once again, Tankiso, I'd just like to extend a wonderful, wonderful, well done and congratulations on all of the hard work that you've done and the journey that you've taken. I mentioned in the beginning that I met you a couple of years ago as well when you started out on your journey as an in-service trainee at SARAO, and to just see how much you've done and how much you've grown and the accolades that you have achieved along the way is truly inspiring to me as well, as a young female in the science field, in the science fraternity in South Africa. So really all the best with your future endeavors and with your research work. We will definitely keep an eye out for you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think a lot of us are really very, very inspired by your tenacity and your strength as well, you know, and charting the unknown, not only to Marian Island, but, you know, switching between degrees. It really is inspirational. So with that said, as Simpiwe had mentioned, let us not keep it too long. We will be closing. So that brings us to the end of today's webinar. Please do join us tomorrow again. Our session will be at 10 a.m. And we will have another speaker again from SARAO to share a little bit about their role and what they do at the organization. So please do join us again tomorrow. Thank you so much for all your questions and comments. Yeah, and that is bye from all of us. Thank you.